Back, it's time to talk more on youth empowerment, and this time the 2014 edition of the Emerging Leaders Conference is here again. And this year the conference seeks to create a paradigm shift in leadership development by bringing together Nigeria's future leaders under one roof. There will be about 1,000 people under one roof talking about development of the youth. And we have in the studio this morning the director for Africa Glitz Foundation, Dayo Israel, who's on my left here, and of course from the Flying Doctors, she's the CEO of Flying Doctors, Dr. Ola Orekunri. Good to have you here.
Lovely to see you too.
Good to have you here. Okay, so this event, what more can the youth gain from this gathering?
I'm very, very excited about this event because I think it's bringing together, and I think you'll agree, Dayo, that it's bringing together leaders from all sectors of society. So it's bringing together our government leaders with our business leaders, with our NGO sector leaders, and I think it's in those gatherings where you have a sort of smelting pots, as it is, of different people in different sorts of leadership positions in different sectors, that you come up with really good ideas that can be implemented through that kind of task force, through the sort of three main types of leadership. So, and I think also it's a good forum for exchange of ideas. I mean, there's a lot that government can learn from business. There's a lot that business can learn from government, and we need, as business people, to know about how government works. And there's a lot that the third sector, the NGO sector, can learn from both government and business. So I think it's going to be a fabulous gathering where we can all learn from each other, and obviously try and build more leadership capacity in the younger generation, because I think that we as young people, I don't think leaders are born. I think that leaders are made. And I think that it's by attending gatherings like this and sort of exchanging, that sort of exchange of ideas that I spoke about earlier, that leaders are created and leaders are made.
Okay, and Dayo, this is the 4th edition of the program. What is driving it?
One of the things I think that this event is very timely, and the event is very significant. If you look at Nigeria today, people who were, when I was in high school back in the days, the people who were the leaders then are still leaders today, and realized that for many years there's been recycling of leadership, and there's time for us to now change. Anthony Ani was less than 30 when he became Minister of Finance, I think it was. We had Joseph Wyas was in his 20s when he became a senator. We had many federal ministers that were under 30. Yakubu Gowon was president and heads of state at 32. We had military administrator of states, governors in their 20s. Now you have to be 35 before you can run for leadership for governor in Nigeria. You have to be like 45 to run for president. Now, something is wrong somewhere, and that's because, like IBB said some years ago, young Nigerians are not ready to lead. But really, we are ready to lead. Many of us are leading already in the private sector. Ola is leading, for example, in the business, doing well. I can mention a lot, like the Feladro Toyes, the Toyosi Akireles, the Bankole Williams, the Linus Okorie, the, a lot of them blossom. Many young Nigerians who are taking leadership in private sector. Now, there's a need to harness the young people, inspire them and challenge them, and do what we call intergenerational dialogue between these leaders who are leading today and the emerging leaders. And that's what this conference aims to do, to prepare Nigeria's emerging leaders for leadership, both in private sector, but in government and public service. So you will look at the content and the featured speakers. They cut across various sectors. And so if you want to go into public service, there's something for you. You want to go into the private sector, there's something for you. You want to go into business or the aviation sector, there's something. There's a speaker. And the array of speakers at this event in Abuja is tremendous. There are people who are thought leaders, who are leaders in their own sector. And I think that everybody who wants to begin to take their place in leadership needs to be at that event in Abuja. And it's free for everybody.
Okay, what has been the outcome of the previous conferences? Because some people will say, okay, we gather, we talk. So what comes out
It's
of
not
it?
talking, it's capacity building, it's empowerment. It's helping people. I heard you talking to the Yali lady, for example, and she was saying exactly the same thing. It's about bringing people, young leaders from obscurity, and telling them that they can achieve their potential, they can make an impact in their sector, they can take the lead, and giving them step-by-step practical guides on how they can leave there and take the lead. I can tell you that over 500 people who have gone through the GOTNI Emerging Leaders Conference have gone on to become major leaders in their sector. I'm talking major leaders. A lady in Abuja called Blossom. She runs this Blossom Nodim, Blossom Compare. She's a blogger and all that. She was trained by these GOTNI Emerging Leaders. A lot of young people. I've been at many GOTNI events as resource person, as speaker. I'm a GOTNI ambassador. And many of us have had some level of impact or the other. Now, for example, we also work with GOTNI in hosting Emerging Leaders Exchange Program to the US and to the UK, taking young Nigerian emerging leaders to the diaspora to see how things work over there, to volunteer, to intern, and come back to Nigeria. So every little way, everything makes a difference. You start by mentoring them, inspiring them, telling them they can achieve, and giving them practical steps. They go home, and apart from that, there's also GOTNI Clinic, where you now also go and have some step-by-step guide, mentoring, continuous mentoring. So it doesn't end with just one conference. It continues.
Okay, and so the conference has produced several success stories.
Yes.
Also, if, for instance, my younger brother wants to be part of this, how can he log on?
I think the easiest way is GOTNI actually has a brilliant website where you can go, you can get your information as a participant or as an organisation, and if you just put it into Google, GOTNI, then the website will come up. It's www.gotni.org.
Yes.
So it's really simple. And there's a tab for people that want to join in as individuals. You send in an email, you send in an essay, and you can get selected that way. And also for organizations and corporates, there's a short spiel that you write out, and then you'll get invited as a representative of a corporate as well. So it's pretty easy to join in.
Okay, on the one hand, we can talk about what GOTNI can do and what you can learn from attending a conference of that nature. What do we say about policies of government in Nigeria? Does it really help young people, or do we need a change?
A change in policy?
Yes, in terms of young people, Dio just mentioned the fact that you have to be president of Nigeria, you've got to be 45. You're no longer a kid at that age.
Absolutely.
You're no longer
and
young.
the challenging part is actually that at that 45, Prime Minister Cameron was already Prime Minister at about 43. Obama was president at less than 45. And now, you know, you have
He
to...
asked if we need a policy change, and I think that the president has already actually addressed this. He was, I think he was last week at a youth gathering in Abuja, and he said that actually, as a sort of part of his presidential plan is to lower that age. So yes, I do think we need a policy change. I do think that the Nigerian government needs to consider youth participation, and I think that that is already on the president's agenda, and he's actually stated it publicly that that's something that is one of his objectives for the next few years to do, to make sure that we do lower the age of participation so that young people can participate. Because I think that Africa's future is not, I mean, as you know, our economy right now, I was at an oil and gas conference a few weeks ago, and our economy right now is very centered on the oil. So everybody on the panel was talking about, you know, the differences in the market and how Nigeria is going to survive, and what if the oil price drops, and, you know, what if the LNG price, we can't export LNG anymore, and these are the things that Nigeria, people think are Africa's future, our resources, what we can sell. But I think that it's far more than that. I don't think Africa's future is in the ground. I think Africa's future is in the minds of its young people. Yeah. And we must develop our young people. We must build capacity amongst our young people. In those three sectors, we must build capacity in our government. We must make sure that our government is accountable. We must make sure that we have expert, technologically connected leadership, because I think it's very important that our leaders are connected to technology. I think that now we have left the age where a leader could just be an inspirational voice. They need to be connected to our technology. We need to all realize that technology is the future, and unless we as Africans plug in to the changes that are happening so rapidly will be left behind.
Okay, before we talk about, before we go too much into the details of policy changes, which according to Ola now, it's in the works, it's being done. Let's look at the young people we have in Nigeria. We asked the same question of those who attended the Yali conference, summit in America. We're asking the same of you now. The young Nigerians, a lot of them feel disenfranchised. Some of them feel not empowered enough. And a lot of them continue to say, if you don't have money, you really can't achieve much. But the likes of Adepeju Jayoba and Kemi and Ola, who's here, and yourself, you will say, no, it's not about the money. What are you going to be saying to young people now, especially when you get to the GOTNI event?
You know, this is one of the reasons why the GOTNI events and many other conferences happening now is being put together. To be able to reach out to, imagine leaders with potential, raw talent, raw leaders, and tell them that you can do it. You can start from nothing. You can make an impact in your own local community. You don't have to all be Linus Okore. You don't have to be Ola or Israel or Benga Sheson. You can start in your own community. Many of us who were here started from nothing. I started in Kano Street in Ebutemeta. We didn't have a lot of resources, but we wanted to make a change in our local community. We can't keep waiting on government all day. I've said this over and over again. You can't keep saying there's no money, there's no resources, but you have something. You've got to start from where you are, because even baby step matters. That's one. Number two, yes, the government has a role to play, but we've seen many other communities where young people have taken up roles without even waiting for government to create an enabling environment. You've got to do something. You've got to take charge. If I go into testimonies of young people who had nothing, who had no support, but whose resilience have been able to make impact, there's still many young Nigerians who are doing so much. There are Diolu Akinyemis, and even some you don't even know their name. There's Stephen Akitayos and all that are trying in the elite community, empowering people, creating jobs, setting up businesses, running civil society organizations, and, you know, define everything. Ola is back from the diaspora. I came back from the diaspora about 2 years ago. We used to go to the same church in London. You know, so many of us came back here, despite how challenging it was. 2 weeks after getting back to Nigeria, I got robbed. Some months ago, I got robbed too. I've said, what are you doing in Nigeria? Why are you there? But no, we're not going to say because Nigeria is not growing, because there's no enabling environment, we're not going to do something. We're going to find a solution where we can. I've just opened a major center in Lagos with a library, 6,000 books library, for young professionals to just come, get resources, with a training center. For young people who want to run a training program, they want to run a vision at no cost. Just come, achieve your dream. It's called the Dream Center in Lagos. You must find something, find your own solution, and make something happen for other people.
Okay, finding solution, let's connect it with what Ola said about connected leadership. Now, for this conference, who are those people that will be coming to talk to the younger people?
Core leaders and emerging leaders. So the emerging leaders are the ones who are just starting, who have potential, some of them don't even know that they have the leadership skills. Some of them have and are thinking, what can I do? How can I start? Where do I start from? And then you're going to be meeting with people who have achieved their potential, who are thought leaders in their sector, and they're going to be telling you how they started from nothing and how they've been able to produce results and help you.
That will help.
We're going to have the Ministry of Youth, we're going to have the President, we have a lot of major speakers as well from the private sector. Omobola Johnson, I believe, is going to be there.
Biola Alabi.
Biola Alabi, yes.
And the Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, I came, Adeshina, and a few others, yes, are going to be there. And also people from the private sector.
Yeah, quite a few from the private sector. I think we've seen the adverts on television, and I guess even the chairman of Channels Television.
Yes, Mr. John Mama is going to be there.
To speak there as well, to encourage the young people. Well,
and I think the channel story is something that everybody needs to hear, and how, you know, it's been able to grow and become a state-of-the-art TV station, and consecutively for many years the best channel TV. You know, the best TV station. Yeah, so that's a success story. How do you start? Many young people are trying to start online TV, online radio. We have all of them now, even on YouTube, the Okins and all the other ones. So they can come and learn from Mr. John Mummer on that day on how he's been able to grow from a small TV station on Ikorodu Road to a mega TV station that has its own clothes.
Okay, and of course, to get more on this, you can log on to
www.gotni.org
and get info at gotni.org. Interested candidates can also call 070-648-3595 and some other numbers that I'm sure we'll put up on on our screen and on the website. Thank
Okay.
you so much for coming this morning.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Ola Orekunri, who is the CEO of Flying Doctors, and Dayo Israel, the Director for Africa GLEAD Foundation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay,
on
so
that
we'll
note-
take another break.
Well, on that note, we will have to wrap up rather than take another break. It's
Ooh.
actually 12 o'clock.
Oh,
it's
I
about time
thought
to
we were
wrap this
still-
up. Someone here, I think it's Omolabake Adeyemi, said, amazing, I am impressed. God bless Nigeria. We must believe in ourselves. No foreigner will do it for us. So that's a message to all young Nigerians and to all Nigerians generally, irrespective of your age or gender.
Yes, we
It's
can.
a message. Yes, we can.
Yeah,
Yes, we
just
can. And we
have a
must.
dream and run with it.
And run with it. Thank you very much for staying tuned all this time. 3 hours gone, and we want to say thank you and wish you a great weekend. My name is Kaide Akintele.
And I am Yomi Otaide.